It's Jane, and I'm really, really excited to be here for a 45 Conversations chat with my good friend and colleague, Maaike. Maaike, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I am great. It is awesome to be talking with you today.
It is, and the funny thing is, it's almost 8 o'clock at night here, and you are
It
just
is.
starting your day.
That's true. So let's start from that very place. Where am I talking to you? Where are you in this big world of ours?
I am in Europe, the Netherlands.
Wow. Okay. Yes. So it's your evening time, my still my morning time, and but through the magic of Google Plus Hangouts on air, here we are, right?
It's fun.
That's right. So we are going to have a chat about things related to early childhood education and childcare. And Mike, I'm so excited that you have joined for this conversation because you and I have connected on a lot of different ways, sort of about small business and entrepreneurial efforts and all kinds of things. But you yourself are a new parent, and so we've also now been talking about a lot of the things related to being a new parent. So why don't we start there? Tell us how old your I'm going to say your son because I already know he's a little boy and he's beautiful. So let's start there.
Yeah, I became a mom 8 months ago, more than 8 months ago, to my son Ian. And yeah, I'm 29 years old, and I always wanted to be a parent. And no, well, now I am, and it couldn't be better. I just love every day, and it sounds cliche, but I love to take care of him. He's just the most amazing guy.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how you just I don't know. I mean, myself being a parent of three of my own children and also two stepdaughters, you have a way of just falling in love with your kids, right? And whether you have one or more than one, like my case. And I remember those early days of brand new baby. It's an amazing time, isn't it?
It's amazing. I mean, okay, it's hard as well. I mean, the first few weeks were hard, and after that, you get less sleep and stuff like that. But he sleeps through the night most of the time, so that's good. And I mean, waking up and then hearing him and going to his room, and then that he lights up and he smiles when he sees me. I mean, there's nothing better.
It really, as a parent, it just warms your heart, doesn't it? It's like a feeling like no other feeling, I think.
I'm in love. Yeah.
And that's a good thing for you and Ian, right? Very, very neat. So I'm interested to learn a little bit more because, of course, I'm in Canada and you are not in Canada. So talk to me a little bit about what it's like for you becoming a new parent and, a new mom and having a small business yourself. What kinds of things have you been able to take advantage of in terms of any leave time or, just anything to help you through this early first year of Ian being with you?
In Holland, we're taken quite good care of when we are newborn moms or new moms. The thing is, since I have my own company, it's different because
Right.
I am. If you just have a job, you have 4 months of maternity leave, 1 month
Okay.
before the due date and 3 months after. So
Okay.
that's very good, and you get paid fully, so that's very good.
So
And
your full pay from, so if you're in an employment type situation, then just so I'm understanding this, you can go off on your leave for a month ahead of time and then another 3 months and you're at your full pay, whatever that pay scale was. Is that right?
that's correct, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
And
yeah.
for the dads, there is 2 days. Woohoo.
Okay. All right.
But
So,
they are working on different uh, rules that they can have 2 weeks off. But that will
okay.
take a while, I think. But for moms, it's 4 months. Yeah, you have maternity leave, so that's quite good.
Right. Okay. And so then now, of course, you talked about that's as if you're in a job, but if you have your own business or you're in a self-employed kind of situation, like you are with your business, what's the difference for you?
I didn't have paid maternity leave
Okay.
because
Yes.
it depends on how many hours and how much money you make the year before you are expecting the baby. And that year before, I was in a part-time job, so my business was just, taking off.
Right.
And otherwise, if you make it's a minimum of 1,225 hours. If you make that the year before, you get like a minimum pay from the government.
Okay.
Or you can, of course, get insurance and take care of it yourself. But if you have 1,225 hours, you get a pay from the government. Which
so that is something that makes it a little bit easier for moms who have businesses themselves, that they can sort of access some level of leave, although it's not the same as if they were in an employment type situation.
Yeah, and that you get some money in the door because you want to take time off. I mean, before I gave birth, I really, it's stupid when I say this, but I thought, within a few weeks I will be gone. I will be working again.
Right,
I was like, what was I thinking?
Things kind of shift around a little bit sometimes, don't they? Right? We think I don't know that we can do so many different things, and then reality kind of sets in a lot of cases in a different way, right?
Yeah, and life happens, and I know some people who were working again within a few weeks. And I was also checking my email again within a week, I think, when I came back from hospital. But that was just, checking it and then leaving it all behind because I didn't have the time or the energy to work on it. But, there are people that are working again very fast because if you don't get money from the government, well, you don't get any money in the door if you work like that.
Yeah, so
I didn't have products or something working for me, so that was too bad.
So that's a challenge for sure. I know in Canada, it now within recent years, self-employed individuals can access maternity and parental leave supports when they previously could not. But when I have my 3 kids, I was one of those people who, I had clients all the way through, and literally it was kind of days. It is sometimes not even a day. So, it's very, very hard. I understand that it's a real struggle sometimes to hold all the pieces together. And, you've got that huge pull that you want to be able to be present and spend time with, with your new child.
Yeah, and I also worked until 1 week before I was in labor, but that was because I was early. I was planning 3 weeks. That became 1 week, but still.
Right.
And but the good thing about being self-employed, if you have a job, after 3 months you have to be at work again.
Right. Okay.
I didn't start working, like I didn't take on clients outside of the house until 4.5 months later. I worked before that. I worked behind the scenes, but I didn't take clients on to go outside of the house until 4.5 months or something, which was I could, if I didn't want to, I didn't have to. But that's
that gave you a lot more flexibility in terms of how you might be able to plan and schedule things, both for yourself and your business, and also for Ian's needs then.
Yeah, and that was perfect. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. It was just, I could do it whenever I felt like I could go outside again.
Right. Very, very cool. So now talk to me a little bit then about childcare choices that exist in Holland for families. So when you think about, starting to really get quite busy again with your work and everything, are you using any sort of childcare now for Ian, or what's your strategy at this point in time?
This point in time, I have my mom and I have my husband taking care of Ian 1 day of the week.
Right.
And the rest is he's mine.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm with him, and I can work when he's sleeping or in the playpen or wherever.
Right.
And he gets older, so he can play by himself. But I don't have that much time as I would want to. But you have childcare, of course, in the Netherlands, and it is quite good. You get if you have your own company or you have a job, you get money back from the government of what you pay to the childcare.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of like I don't use it, but it should be somewhere about 40 or 50% or something like that. You get it back.
Okay. So is that's like in a rebate or something? Does that happen monthly or like once a year, or how does that
I
work?
think I don't know for sure. I think every 3 months or every month.
Right.
Get it
Okay.
back later. So not before, but then later. But then
Right.
it's quite good because then a lot of people can afford it. But the
Yeah.
problem still is it is still expensive. And I know some women who work just to pay childcare.
Okay. Yeah. So they're basically their wages are more or less covering the cost of their childcare.
Yeah, and they want to work, so that's why they go.
Yes, because if they step away from the work, then they probably feel that maybe they're losing a certain momentum or place in their career, right? So it's a trade-off. Do you think is that part of what the issue is?
I think some people would want to stay home, but they
Hmm.
have to work, for example, and other
Right.
people they just don't want to lose on their career or something like that
Mhm.
because if you don't work for a few years, it's hard if you come back.
Right,
So,
right,
but most of my friends they work part time.
right.
If when they
Okay.
have
So in terms of your sort of circle of friends, then it's kind of people are doing a bit of a balance kind of thing in terms of some paid employment and some, being with the children or child at home, kind of a combination.
Yeah, most of the time they work part-time or in their own business or at a job. Most of
Right.
them, I think 3 days is kind of normal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you
Okay.
work 5 days, and if you get a baby, then you go to 3 days a week, which is
Right.
kind of normal.
Okay. And so talk about then as Ian gets a little bit older, have you thought about, as he grows and will you sort of stay with the arrangement that you have, or are you planning ahead for other choices for him in terms of early learning opportunities down the road?
I think in when he's a year or something in November, I think I'm going to have childcare for 1 day extra. With
Okay.
other kids so that they have other kids, but then with not at a childcare, a big school like
Right.
place, but then with someone at home with
Okay. So more in someone's home, but with
yeah, and I like
other.
that better because
Right.
it's more homey and it's
Yeah.
closer to my house, which is also good. I
Right.
know already someone I think I'm going to bring him to,
Okay.
and they get to meet other kids and stuff like that. I wasn't when I was young. I was always at home. My mom was at home, so
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to schooling something or a
Right.
place or a childcare place until I was 4 when I went to school. But
Okay.
I think it's also for me. Then I can have a little bit more time on my business or for myself, whatever.
Right. Right.
And I
Yeah.
think I like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, you have to balance it. What are the costs and I want to take care of Ian as well. So
That's right. So now this combination that you're doing then it sounds like that's going to work quite well. You're kind of growing it as you need to grow it based on your business needs and based on Ian's needs as he's growing, and from a parenting perspective, you're kind of bringing that all together to find that nice blend that works for you, right?
yeah, and it is hard. I mean, I
What's the hardest part about it?
I think I feel a little bit guilty if I would bring
Yeah.
him to someone else instead. Only like my mom and my dad, they know him very well. He sees them
Mm-hmm.
like 3 or 4 times a week, and of course my husband. And
Right.
if I'm bringing him to someone else, it feels like a little bit like I should be doing that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
I'm working on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really common feeling a lot of times, especially for new parents, as you sort of start to expand your horizons in terms of the kinds of opportunities that you give to your child. I remember, when my middle daughter Emma, when she was about 2, and having her start in a program, and it was just sort of part time, but I had her going again for socialization and different kinds of things, and I had that overriding feeling as a mom that, oh my goodness, she's too small, and in the end, I took her out for a couple of months until I felt better about it. And my goodness, I'm an early childhood educator, so so I understand how amazing, great early learning environments can be. But you also have to balance that, I think, with your feeling as a mom or as a parent, whether you're a mom or a dad, really, in terms of what your gut tells you. That's equally as important. You know your child best, right?
Also, yeah, and since I have my own company, I can pretty much do whatever I like. And if you have a job, you just have to go to work after 3 months.
Right.
So they make the choice for you, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also different. And there were some stories in the newspaper lately about the quality of childcare.
Okay. So what kind of stories are you reading?
Sorry?
What kind of stories are you reading and hearing about in the news?
It was not positive.
Okay.
About quality, the people that they parent styles or teaching styles, and that they weren't theoretically proven, and they have to save money every time and every time. So it costs somewhere, and I don't want it to be my kid.
Does childcare receive a fair amount of sort of societal support or support from the government as such where you are, or is it very much sort of an individual situation from program to program?
It is regulated by the government.
Yeah.
You pay, as a parent, you pay for your kid to go to childcare.
Right.
And they get money from the government, but the government, takes away money all the time because they have to. They don't have as much money as they want to.
Right.
And the problem there is, it has to. They have to cut somewhere. And
so then programs are faced with budget issues, it sounds like, or and that then can impact quality.
Yes, and it's just hard if you think about it, rationally. You're like, oh yeah, logic, yeah, that's normal. But then it's my kid, and that's like, I'm keeping him at home.
So I think that this is a common issue in many nations, and as I talk with people around the world and I hear different stories, and both locally and globally, there's different pressures that happen to early learning and childcare in lots of different places, right? It is a common challenge. So I think that having, being as informed as you can be, and visiting lots of different programs and getting lots of different ideas, talking with friends and colleagues, understanding what your options are, those are really key. But again, you have to kind of go with what it is that ultimately you feel is best as a parent for your individual child, right? That's what matters the most.
I think so. And the problem here a little bit is I live in a not that big city.
Right.
And in the bigger cities, they have more different options.
Right.
So that's a little bit harder, to make a good decision about that.
Yeah, very, 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 yeah. I mean, lots of things to be thinking about for sure. So let me think of something else. So I'm wondering, there's a lot of varying viewpoints on this, but, for you being a new parent, what is it that you think, why do you think sort of investing early on in children really matters? Like what's the really important reason that, we as parents and as society that we need to be doing that?
Yeah, it's the basic. I mean, yeah, the kids of today are the parents of tomorrow, so you have to start early on, and I think. In the earlier generations, there were most of the time the mom stayed at home and to take care of the kids. And now, like almost everyone of my age and a little bit older is working. So it's different. The kids, they don't come home to tea and cookies like I did.
Okay.
they go to childcare until 6 o'clock or something at night, and then they come home and they eat and they go to bed, kind of thing.
Right.
It's okay. I mean, if you want to work, I mean, I know people who work 5 days a week, but most of those kids, they have a nanny, because it's just not. It's way too much money to pay childcare. They just have a nanny at home.
Can you give us a sense? Are you familiar? I know that you're using sort of family arrangements right now, but can you give us a sense of what kind of cost people would be paying for childcare for a baby in your area?
I am not 100% sure, but it depends. If you have it at a childcare facility, it's most of the time a little bit more expensive than if you have it with someone at home, because they have to pay for all the extra things and stuff like that. And they are big groups, kind of. They have like 6 kids on one teacher or one.
Right. So it's a larger. It's more of a traditional group environment.
Yes, and
it's a licensed kind of facility and regulated.
Yeah, and I think. I'm not sure about the cost. I should have checked it, but
no, it's okay. I didn't tell you that in advance. I mean, the thing about these conversations is it's not. What people need to realize is that anyone who comes along and is viewing our conversation, or who is viewing it now, is that it's a spontaneous conversation, right? So I don't sort of tell you in advance. All right, Maaike, be prepared. Here's all the questions. It's not a quiz.
No, but I know it is kind of it is expensive, because it depends on where you bring it, so that's the difference. But then if you have like a few kids, if you have 2 kids, I think if you work 2 days, you bring your salary directly to the childcare. It's maybe even more.
That's hard. I mean, that's hard, and I hear that in so many different places, right? So if you sort of had a wish as to a way that it could be improved in your country, what might that wish be?
I don't think it should be like less expensive or stuff like that, because they need the money to have quality. But I think due to also the negative news things lately, I think they need to also look for theoretically or practical things that could improve everything. Like that the kids really learn something instead of just hang around, because that happens a lot, I think. And I also think there should be more different kinds of child care, because like in Maaike, where I live, it's a smaller city, 40,000 people. They have, for example, places where you can be on a farm, where the kids are on a farm, which is great.
All right.
I lived on a farm. I was brought up at a farm. So, but that's too far away for me, because I only have a bike, so that's not handy. But there's no like, you have different school systems like Montessori or like that. They don't have childcare in Nijkerk based on that. I
see. Okay.
They probably do have that in Amsterdam or in the bigger cities, and they also have it on different philosophies and stuff like that.
So choice is quite limited where you are then, in terms of what the options are for you to choose from for Ian. Okay. Yeah. So that's a real factor as well, then, for sure. Yeah. Wow. So more choice would be good, and also knowing that there's ways that programs could be enhanced, and that you as a parent would know that the quality was really really good. That would make you feel a lot better about things, it sounds like.
Yeah, that I bring him there and that he actually learns something. He doesn't have to learn right now. He's 8 months. Come on.
Well, of course, and
learning, but speaking with other kids and interacting and with other parents and with adults, and I think that's good. And also maybe about food or those things. It might be handy.
Yeah, you want that quality experience for him. And of course we have to remember that children learn through play, right? So there's all kinds of different ways that can happen, but it's it's really important that they are in an environment that they're well cared for, and that's nurturing and caring, and that if it's in a home, that's one situation, if it's sort of a family kind of situation. But if it's a more formal kind of care situation, with multiple children, then it's really important that that person have, a level of training that, moves from one level all the way up to, those who are working in larger facilities, that they have proper educational skills and experiences, because those early years, they're so critical, right?
True, and I need to be sure that, they're well taken care of, and that I think it's also important that they know at the end of the day what my son was doing. Like,
Right.
they was like, oh, he was playing. No, I want to know if something happens or stuff like that. And I
Right.
learned from friends that
Yes.
sometimes they can't tell you that, and I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's important to have good communication, and it sounds like for you, picking up at the end of a day, what you're sort of seeing is that that important points of his day have been captured. So that will give you a certain level of peace of mind, not only from his development perspective, but just in terms of how he's being cared for throughout the day.
And I think they do quite a good job at most facilities. I learned from friends, but still that's kind of important to me. And I know I'm a new mom, so maybe, if it progresses and he gets older, I'm a little bit less nervous about that.
Of
But
course. Yeah.
my son, and he's important to me. So
Yeah. So I guess in closing, I mean, you've given me a wealth of different ideas, and I've learned a lot just sort of listening to your experience. In closing, what thoughts would you have, for other, new parents, new families that are in a situation similar to yours, entrepreneurial, having their own business, and what advice do you have around that?
think it through before you get the baby. I did think about it, but it's and be realistic. I mean, the things that I said, like I will work again for 4 days a week after he's born. I would just, put him in childcare. That were my words. I will put him in childcare, and I will go to work. I want to be with Ian like most of the time, and I also need my me time. That's very important. But also, think things through and be realistic, because if you have the baby, and you have to think about a lot of things. And if you have thought about it before, then it might be a little bit easier, although you never know what happens after you get the baby.
Yeah, and I guess that's maybe the other side of it, is that as much as you can think so many things through, as you say, and that's, it's important to be realistic, but also if something shifts, that's okay too, right? Like, because definitely things shifted for you, and you eventually, you went with that because that was the overriding feeling, that it was important to you to be able to be with him, and so you shifted your thinking on that, and it sounds like, it was good that you did that, and you feel really good about that, right?
Yeah, and I learned to be flexible. That's a good thing. That happens when you get kids.
Very, very true. Wow. Wow. Well, Maaike, thank you so much for joining us. Now, before we completely leave this hangout, where can people find out more about your business and what it is that you've got going on?
My business, I organize events in the Netherlands, most of them, with American speakers or people from abroad, Canadian speakers, and people from England, and not from Holland.
Right.
And they can find me, I think, on Twitter is my name.
You've got your Twitter handle on your lower third here in the Hangout. So
yeah, it's Inspire31 and Miss Maaike85 is my personal handle. Yes.
Excellent. Very good. Well, so people can go and check out more about that. And I know, because I've been following you for a number of years, and we've actually met face to face. You've even visited my house. So
I was pregnant back then.
That's right. So before Ian was here, so it's amazing how connections can be made across oceans and continents, and countries, and yet we have so much commonality, right? So
Yeah,
very neat.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much, Mike. I so appreciate having you in this conversation today, and I look forward to, as Ian grows up, us touching base periodically on how things are going for you and him and childcare and your business.
Yeah, we will stay in touch, of course.
All right, sounds good. Bye, Micah.
Bye.